Alright guys, so in today's video I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over a few tidbits of news and information regarding some games that I know many of you are interested in. We're going to be talking a little bit about Persona and how Sony apparently sees it as a very important franchise to them and to the PlayStation platform, so I think that's something you guys are going to be interested in hearing about. We're also going to be talking about a game called Project Awakening, which is something that I've seen many of you mention in the past, and I'm just not too familiar with it, but looking into it a little bit more, it certainly seems like a game I'm going to be very interested in, and it seems that maybe, just maybe, we are going to be getting a trial version of it to play for ourselves very soon, which sounds very exciting to me, honestly, and it's kind of one of these news pieces that I wasn't expecting, and then when I looked into it, I'm like, oh, okay, like if this ends up being true, I will definitely give this a try. And we're also going to be taking a little bit of time to talk about the game Judgment, which I have also seen many of you talking about, letting me know I should play as well, and how it seems that it has sold better than expected in the West, and because of that, we might see more entries in this world, of Judgment going forward. So starting here with Persona, it's interesting because I've seen so many of you tell me, MBG, you need to play Persona 5. And the thing is, I will at some point. I have no idea when, nor do I want to commit to a time frame because I know it's a very long game and it's a very different game. And it's a game, especially for me as somebody who's never experienced a Persona game before, that I'm probably going to, really have to take some time to get familiar with and get used to. And, if it's as good as everybody says it is, I really want to make sure that whenever I do play it, it's during a time where I'm really looking for something good to play. We're going into the holiday season right now, and frankly, there's just way too much stuff I still have to play, new games that are coming out. So I just wanted to let you guys know that because that's the question I honestly get asked the most is, when am I going to play Persona 5? It's going to happen at some point. Just be patient. We'll get there eventually. But talking about this news here, says that for as long as Persona has existed, its mainline installments have been exclusive to PlayStation platforms. Sure, we get the offshoot every now and then that makes it to a Nintendo system as well, such as Persona Q or the upcoming Persona 5 Scramble, but as far as mainline Persona installments are concerned, they're only ever available on PlayStation systems, except for the first game, which was also available on PC. It's clear that the franchise is an important PlayStation mainstay, and it seems Sony feels that way too. At a recent Persona 5 Royale event, Sony spoke about Atlus's series via Game Watch and mentioned that Persona isn't only a series that is important to Atlus and Sega, but also to Sony and the PlayStation as a platform. Persona 5 on the PS3 and PS4 was the series' most major hit worldwide, helping it break out of its relatively niche corner. Recently, it was announced that Persona has collectively sold over 10 million units. Meanwhile, Persona 5 Royale is out exclusively for the PS4 in October in Japan and in spring 2020 in the West. And so I think that this is news, honestly, that any Persona fan is going to be happy to hear, that Sony does appreciate this franchise and they do see the importance of it, and they don't, seemingly take it for granted. And I'm sure that there are a lot of people who have went out there and purchased PlayStation consoles specifically to have access to these games. And so if you're somebody who did that, you can feel good knowing that it's not something Sony just kind of brushes off or just is like, oh, okay. And honestly, I don't know the details between the deal between like Sega and Atlus and Sony. I don't know if Sony pays for this to get the games exclusively, or if it's just one of these situations where it just makes sense for both parties and they say, this is where our audience is, they're on PlayStation, so we're just going to keep it exclusive, because it just makes it easier to develop the games, I'm assuming, when you just focus on a single platform. I'm not sure. I'm sure one of you or a few of you can let me know down below if you have any information on this. But again, I thought that this was something you guys would be happy to hear. Sony does care very much about the Persona series and franchise. But moving on from that, we're going to talk about this upcoming fantasy RPG game, Project Awakening. It says that it looks like Cry Games, which I guess is the studio that's working on it, and I know they're Japanese based as well. I'm pretty sure they are anyway. Looks like Cry Games will be releasing a demo of its fantasy action role-playing game Project Awakening Arise, if a listing on PEGI's website is anything to go by. The European Ratings Board specifically mentioned a trial version of the game, which has been awarded an age rating of 16. The listing reads, "The trial version will allow players to get a taste of the combat and action available from Project Awakening, an action role-playing game featuring photorealistic graphics. The game was rated PEGI 16 for frequent scenes of strong violence and is not suitable for persons under the age of 16. Project Awakening was first announced in 2016 as a high-end console game, and at E3 2018, Crygames showcased early gameplay footage behind closed doors, leaving attendees impressed. Months later, the game was confirmed to be a PlayStation 4 title. According to Game Informer's Emran Khan, who watched the closed-door footage at E3 2018, Project Awakening stars a knight whose combat style seems inspired by Monster Hunter and Dragon's Dogma. So this is actually really interesting to me because this is a game that has not really been on my radar, and I feel like it's something that going forward we're probably going to hear more about. The last thing I remember hearing about this game, and I could be wrong about this, but I could have swore I heard that the developers were talking about how Project Awakening is a game that's kind of really early in development, and it's going to be a while until it's finished. But it seems like the size and scope of this game is pretty big, and it seems pretty ambitious, and because of that, that's why it's going to take so long. And I've also seen a lot of people saying that they fully expect this to end up being a PlayStation 5 game, and that's why I can't help but find it pretty interesting that we're hearing now we might be able to expect a trial version of this very soon, and all of this sounds super appealing to me. I have played Monster Hunter. I played the latest entry, and I really enjoyed it. I played it on Xbox, actually, and I ended up, believe it or not, getting every achievement for it. That's how much I enjoyed it. We know Iceborne is coming out, and I'm just saying this because hearing that the combat is similar to that, and it kind of has this, just high fantasy RPG look, and there's seemingly going to be dragons involved in everything. I'm a big Dark Souls fan. I enjoyed Monster Hunter, and I heard really good things about Dragon's Dogma, so it sounds like something I will be very interested in, and I hope that this is actually true. It being a PS4 title, having photorealistic graphics, and hearing that anybody who got to see this behind closed doors E3 demo, which I wasn't even aware about, if I'm being honest. I wasn't aware about this until now. It sounds like it's going to be a really good game, and I'm hoping that we do get a trial version because, again, I would love to play it. I would love to give it a shot and actually give my thoughts on it. And if it's really good, then maybe, who knows, maybe it will end up being a PS5 title that we can look forward to early on in the PlayStation 5's life cycle. I'm always interested in games like this, and it just makes me really happy to see that developers are really trying to strive for these high-end console games. It's nice that it's not just the Sony first party, right? And it's this Japanese developer, I believe Crygames. They're out here saying, look, we want to make a big AAA high fantasy RPG title with photorealistic graphics for the PlayStation console, whether it be the PS4 or the PS5. And you know what? I'm all about that. We need more of that stuff. And I just hope this ends up being true. I think it's something that a lot of you guys will also be interested in if it does end up happening. But the final piece of news and information that I want to take a minute here to talk about has to do with Judgment, as we said earlier in this video, and apparently how a sequel is on the cards as the sales expectations in the West actually were surpassed. So it says that Judgment was one of the best PS4 games of the summer, so we'll take any news we can get in regards to a sequel, and thankfully, it looks like the odds of one becoming a reality are fairly high. If a recent interview with Yakuza series director Daisuke, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right, Sato is anything to go by. Speaking with Spanish media outlet Station, Sato is pleased with the original game's sales in the West. He said, "From our point of view, Judgment's performance in the West has surpassed our expectations. They're very good." He then goes on to state that the team would like to keep working on more games in the Judgment series. So, we know that they're working on the next Yakuza title. I believe Yakuza 7 was just recently announced. And I'm not familiar with any of these games. And a lot of people were telling me, MBG, you need to play Judgment. Again, it's another game that I'm going to be late to the party to whenever I get around to playing it. But it's something that has, interested me. It's just, I'm waiting for the right time to experience some of these games. But I know that a lot of you have actually picked up Judgment. When it came out, I saw a lot of you guys leaving comments saying how good the game is and how, you're really enjoying it. And so if you are somebody who picked up the game and you really enjoyed it, it looks like a sequel is something you can look forward to in the future, because apparently it sold better than expected. And that's always good news, right? Especially for these titles that aren't really as on the radar as other titles are. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I wanted to take a little bit of time to go over some of this information because I think you guys will certainly find it interesting. And if you did, be sure to leave your thoughts down below on what we talked about here. I'm going to be interested to hear what you guys have to say about Persona, about Project Awakening, and about Judgment. Be sure to leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it helpful at all. It really helps it out, lets me know you guys are enjoying the content. Be sure to subscribe to the channel if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss out on any content, and feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.